The evening flight from New York to London was supposed to be routine for everyone on board. People were tired after long workdays, some were excited about their trips, while others were simply eager to get home. Among the passengers was Nathan Cole, a man whose name few recognized but whose power shaped the world. He was the CEO of one of the biggest technology companies on the planet, a billionaire who was used to having everything he wanted. But tonight was different. Tonight, Nathan was on a commercial flight for the first time in years. Normally, he would fly on a private jet, hidden away from the public eye and media. But this time, he wanted to avoid the fuss, to be just another traveler, unnoticed and invisible. He was tired of the constant spotlight, the endless meetings, the pressure to always be perfect. The plane was supposed to be just a way to get from one city to another. But fate had something else in store. On the other side of the plane, walking through the aisles with grace and a warm smile, was Sophia Lane. Sophia was a flight attendant, someone who worked hard every day to make the journey comfortable for passengers. She had a kind face but tired eyes. Life had not been easy for her. She worked long hours, always on her feet, dealing with passengers' complaints and emergencies. But she did it with a quiet strength. Sophia was not just a flight attendant. She was also the main support for her family. Her younger brother was sick, and the medical bills were piling up. She held on to hope, but every day was a struggle. When the plane was ready to take off, everyone settled in. Nathan found his seat near the front, pulling out his laptop to catch up on emails. He was already thinking about the business meeting that awaited him in London. Sophia took her place in the aisle seat, ready to start her work with the smile that passengers expected from her. She had done this flight many times before and knew exactly how to keep calm even when things went wrong. But tonight, things did go wrong. About an hour before takeoff, the captain announced that the plane had a technical issue. There was a problem with one of the engines, and they would need to wait for the technicians to check and fix it. Passengers groaned and sighed. The long delay would make everyone late, disrupt their plans, and cause frustration. Nathan's calm quickly turned to impatience. He was not used to waiting. For him, time was money, and every minute wasted felt like a loss. He pushed the call button, signaling Sophia to come over. When she appeared, she saw the sharp look in his eyes. He demanded quick answers, demanding to know how long the delay would be. Sophia explained gently that the technicians were on their way, but it might take a few hours. Nathan snapped, telling her to hurry up and do something. Sophia could have been offended, but she stayed professional. She met his anger with calmness, a quiet confidence that surprised him. Instead of backing down, she looked him in the eye and said she would do her best. Nathan was taken aback. No one usually talked to him like that. Most people were either scared or impressed by his wealth and power. But Sophia seemed to see him as just another human being. As the hours passed, the tension on the plane grew. Some passengers started complaining loudly. Others just sat in silence, tired and frustrated. Nathan stayed mostly quiet, but inside, he was boiling. He wanted to control the situation but couldn't. Sophia kept moving through the aisles, serving water, calming nerves, and answering questions. Her kindness and patience did not go unnoticed. At one point, a young mother was struggling to calm her crying baby. Sophia knelt down, gently rocking the child while whispering soft words. Nathan watched from his seat. For the first time in a long while, he saw someone who cared deeply, who worked hard without any fame or money, just because it was the right thing to do. Their eyes met briefly. Nathan saw the exhaustion but also the strength in Sophia's face. She was fighting battles he could not see. That moment sparked something inside him, a curiosity he had never felt before. The night grew darker outside the airplane windows, and the delay stretched longer. The airline decided to move passengers to the airport lounge while they fixed the plane. As everyone stood up and gathered their belongings, Sophia stayed calm. guiding people and making sure no one was left behind. Nathan followed behind, feeling oddly drawn to Sophia's presence. He noticed how she smiled at scared children, how she listened carefully to elderly passengers, how she moved with grace despite the chaos. When they reached the lounge, Nathan sat apart, opening his laptop again, retreating into his world of emails and business. Sophia found a quiet corner to rest but kept an eye on the passengers. The hours of waiting gave people time to breathe and think. Nathan found his thoughts wandering away from work. He wondered what Sophia's life was like. He thought about the weight she carried with every step. Sophia, meanwhile, wondered what it was like to live in Nathan's world. She imagined the loneliness behind his power, the sacrifices he must have made. Though they were strangers, their stories had already begun to connect. That night something shifted between them, a silent understanding, a hint of friendship waiting to grow. As the technicians worked on the plane, both Nathan and Sophia realized that this unexpected delay was no longer just an inconvenience. It was the start of a life-changing night neither would forget. After the frustrating delay, the airline finally decided to move all the passengers from the plane to a nearby airport lounge. The lounge was meant to be a place where people could wait comfortably, away from the chaos of the terminal. It was quiet, with soft lighting and comfortable chairs, a stark contrast to the restless crowd outside. Nathan Cole, the Billionaire CEO, quickly found a seat in a corner. He opened his laptop again, trying to immerse himself in work and ignore everything around him. His fingers moved quickly over the keyboard, answering emails and making urgent calls. But the more he worked, the more restless he felt. The noise of typing and the glow of the screen felt distant compared to the silence of the room. Across the lounge, Sophia Lane sat down on a small sofa near the coffee machine. She was tired, but she tried to stay alert. She looked around, keeping an eye on the other passengers, ready to help if anyone needed it. Despite her exhaustion, her attention never left the people who depended on her kindness. Time passed slowly. Passengers whispered, checked their phones, or tried to sleep. The delay was longer than anyone expected. Nathan felt the weight of the situation. He hated waiting. But more than that, he was starting to notice things he usually ignored. The tired faces around him, the quiet worries in people's eyes. Suddenly, a sharp noise broke the silence. An elderly man sitting nearby gasped and clutched his chest. He collapsed to the floor, his face pale and his eyes wide with fear. The people around him panicked, unsure of what to do. Sophia was the first to react. She quickly moved forward, dropping to her knees beside the man. Her training kicked in, and she checked his pulse, listened for breathing, and called out for help. Nathan, still nearby, watched closely. Surprised at how calm and confident she was, without hesitation, he stepped in to assist. He held the man's hand gently and stayed by his side as Sophia instructed a bystander to call emergency services. The room was tense, but Sophia's voice remained steady, reassuring the frightened crowd. Nathan felt a strange feeling, a mixture of admiration and respect for this woman who faced emergencies with such courage. When the paramedics arrived, Sophia explained the man's condition quickly and clearly. Nathan stayed close, feeling oddly connected to the situation. The elderly man was taken to the hospital, and the passengers settled back down, their fear slowly fading. As the room calmed, Nathan approached Sophia. He thanked her quietly, genuinely grateful for her quick actions. Sophia smiled softly but was tired. The night was wearing on everyone, and the waiting continued. To Nathan's surprise, their conversation did not end there. He asked her about herself, not in the usual way of small talk but with real interest. Sophia hesitated, but then shared pieces of her story, how she worked as a flight attendant to support her family, the challenges she faced, and the hope she held on to. Nathan listened carefully. He spoke too, opening up about the loneliness and pressure he felt as a CEO, the constant demands, and the sacrifices he made. For once, the walls he built around himself lowered. He was not the powerful businessman now, but just a man talking to another person. Hours passed as they sat together, talking quietly in the lounge. The connection between them grew stronger, not because of their differences, but because of their honesty. Both felt something they rarely experienced, a true human connection. As the night deepened, the airline announced the plane would be ready for takeoff soon. The passengers began to gather their things, preparing to return to the aircraft. Nathan and Sophia shared a look, a silent understanding that this night had changed them. Though they would soon return to their separate worlds, something inside each of them had shifted. The billionaire and the flight attendant, strangers just hours ago, had found in each other a moment of truth and compassion. When they finally stood up to board the plane, neither knew what the future held. But in that quiet lounge, far from the glittering cities and busy lives, two very different lives had crossed paths, and the impact would last much longer than the flight itself. The night had grown late, and the scheduled flight was now rescheduled for the next morning. Passengers, still tired from the long delay, were offered hotel rooms by the airline. The chance to rest, to sleep in a real bed rather than cramped. Airplane seats was a relief for many. Sophia was relieved herself, knowing that this break might help her recover a bit from the exhausting day. She was ready to finally take a moment for herself. Nathan, too, accepted a hotel room near the airport. It was a simple hotel, nothing like the luxury he was used to, but for once he didn't mind. The night had brought a strange calmness to him, and he didn't want to rush back into his busy, stressful life. The hours he had spent talking to Sophia had left a mark on him, something unfamiliar but powerful. At the hotel, the guests trickled in one by one, exhausted but thankful. The staff worked quickly to check everyone in and direct them to their rooms. Sophia, still in her uniform, helped passengers find their rooms, answering questions, offering small smiles that hid the fatigue she felt deep inside. By a coincidence that neither could explain, Nathan and Sophia's rooms were next to each other on the same floor. When Nathan realized this, he hesitated, wondering if it was fate or just chance. After a moment of thought, he decided to knock on Sophia's door. Maybe it was the human connection they had formed in the airport lounge, or maybe a simple need for company, but he felt drawn to talk to her again. Sophia was surprised when she heard the knock. She opened the door cautiously, unsure what to expect. Nathan stood there, looking less like a distant billionaire and more like a man just as tired and confused as she was. He smiled warmly and asked if she wanted to join him for a walk outside the hotel. Sophia hesitated. She knew it wasn't usual for flight attendants to spend time with passengers after work, especially not someone like Nathan. But there was something different about him, a kindness and honesty she hadn't seen in a long time. She nodded and stepped outside into the cool night air. The streets near the airport were quiet. The usual noise of traffic and crowds was gone. It was just the two of them, walking slowly beneath the streetlights. They talked about simple things, books they loved, music that touched their hearts, dreams they once had but forgot in the rush of life. They shared stories about their childhoods, the people they missed, and the moments they wished they could relive. Nathan listened with interest as Sophia spoke about her late parents, who had taught her the value of kindness and hard work. She told him about her younger brother who was sick and depended on her more than anyone else. Her voice was steady, but Nathan could see the pain behind her words. It made him realize how much strength she carried every day. Sophia, in turn, listened as Nathan spoke about the loneliness of his life. Behind his wealth and success was a man who often felt isolated. His business empire demanded so much of his time that he rarely had a chance to build real friendships or love. He admitted that sometimes he envied the simple lives of people, like her, where love and family mattered more than money and power. As they walked, the night sky stretched above them, filled with stars, The cool breeze was comforting, and for a moment they forgot the world's worries. Suddenly raindrops began to fall, soft at first but quickly turning into a steady drizzle. They hurried to take shelter under the small awning of a closed cafe. The cafe was empty, but it had a vending machine where Nathan bought 2 cups of hot tea. They sat close together under the awning, sharing warmth and stories. The rain created a rhythm around them, but inside that small shelter, time seemed to stop. Neither of them tried to rush the moment. There was no pressure, no expectations. Just two people from different worlds, sharing honesty and trust. Nathan realized he had never felt this open with anyone before. Sophia, too, found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in years. The hours slipped away as they talked about their regrets and hopes. They laughed softly about silly things and cried quietly over painful memories. There was no need to pretend, no need to hide behind roles or titles. Eventually, the rain slowed, and they walked back to the hotel. The night was deep, and most of the world was asleep. But Nathan and Sophia stayed awake, sitting in the hotel lobby, still lost in conversation. They didn't feel tired anymore. The connection they had found made them feel alive. There was no physical intimacy between them, no kisses, no holding hands, only words and feelings that went deeper than anything they had experienced in a long time. They had shared a night, of vulnerability and truth, a night that neither of them wanted to end. Finally, as the first light of dawn peeked through the hotel windows, they parted ways to their rooms. Both knew that the night had changed something inside them. It was a turning point, a moment when two very different lives had crossed in a way that would shape their futures. As they fell asleep, their minds were filled with questions and hopes. What would happen when the morning came? Would the world still be the same? Could two strangers from different worlds really connect beyond this night? Only time would tell. But one thing was clear. This night had been life-changing. After their night of deep conversations and connection, Nathan and Sophia returned to their separate lives, but neither of them could forget the moments they had shared. The hours spent talking under the rain and sharing their stories stayed with them like a quiet promise of something more. Both felt a shift within themselves, a new awareness that life could be different, better, even if they didn't yet know how. For Sophia, the days after that night were both hopeful and hard. Her work as a flight attendant was demanding. She flew to new cities almost every day, attended to hundreds of passengers, and kept her cheerful smile on, even when exhaustion weighed heavily on her. But now her mind often wandered to Nathan and the conversation they had shared. His honesty and kindness had touched her heart in a way she never expected. Her younger brother was still sick, and the worries about his health grew every day. Sophia did everything she could to keep her family going, working extra shifts, saving every penny. But it wasn't enough. The hospital bills were rising, and her heart ached each time she saw her brother struggling. Nathan, on the other hand, found himself thinking about Sophia constantly. He was a man used to controlling everything: business deals, schedules, and even people's expectations. But with Sophia, he felt something new: uncertainty mixed with hope. The powerful CEO who rarely let his guard down now found himself opening up, sharing thoughts and feelings he usually kept hidden. He began to see his life through a different lens. The pressure of his work remained, but it no longer seemed all-consuming. Sophia's courage and warmth made him realize that there was more to life than money and success. One evening, after a long day at the office, Nathan called Sophia. His voice was softer than usual, less formal. They talked about simple things: how the city looked at night, their favorite foods, the little joys of everyday life. It was as if they were building a new kind of friendship, one based on trust and understanding rather than business or convenience. Their conversations became a daily ritual. No matter where Sophia was in the world or how busy Nathan's schedule was, they found time to talk. They shared their dreams and fears, their past struggles and future hopes. Slowly, their relationship grew beyond that of strangers who had met by chance. They became a source of comfort and strength for each other. Nathan began inviting Sophia to charity events and gatherings, where she met people from his world. At first, Sophia felt out of place among the glittering parties and elegant guests. But Nathan stayed by her side, introducing her proudly and making her feel welcome. Sophia, in return, introduced Nathan to the world she knew. The simple joys of helping people, the struggles of families living paycheck to paycheck, the strength of communities that survived through kindness and hard work. Together, they began to dream of making a bigger difference. Nathan shared ideas about starting a foundation to help people who couldn't afford medical care or other basic needs. Sophia's eyes lit up at the thought. She wanted to be part of something that could change lives, just like she had wished, for her own family. But their growing bond was not without challenges. Nathan's business world was filled with people who doubted Sophia's place beside him. Some questioned why a man of his stature would care for a flight attendant. Gossip spread, and not everyone was kind. Sophia felt the sting of judgment too. She worried that she wasn't enough for Nathan's world, that their differences were too great to overcome. There were moments when she wondered if it was better to step back, to protect herself from disappointment. Nathan, however, stood firm. He defended Sophia quietly but strongly, telling her that her strength and kindness were what mattered most. He told her he was proud of her, and that he wanted the world to know who she truly was. Their relationship became a partnership of equals, built on mutual respect and love. They traveled together to visit hospitals, communities, and families who needed help. Sophia's first-hand experience and Nathan's resources combined to create real change. During one trip to a small town, they met a family struggling to care for a child with a serious illness. The parents had almost given up hope, but with Nathan and Sophia's support, the child received treatment that saved his life. Moments like these reminded them why their journey mattered. As their foundation grew, so did their feelings for each other. They found joy in quiet moments, a walk in the park, a shared meal, a late-night conversation. Their love was gentle but strong, growing deeper with every challenge they faced together. One night, as they sat on a bench overlooking the city lights, Nathan took Sophia's hand and told her how much she meant to him. He spoke of the night they met, how it had changed his life forever. Sophia smiled, feeling the warmth of his words and the certainty that they were meant to be. Their journey was far from over, but they knew they could face whatever came next, together. 2 weeks had passed since that unforgettable night when Nathan and Sophia shared a quiet moment that changed both their lives. The days that followed were filled with a mix of hope, uncertainty, and a strange new feeling neither of them could easily explain. Their worlds were very different, yet something had connected them deeply. A connection neither had expected, but neither could ignore. For Sophia, life went on as usual, or so she tried to make it seem. She returned to her work as a flight attendant, traveling from city to city, putting on her professional smile, helping passengers, and dealing with all the chaos that came with her job. But beneath that smile was a heart heavy with worry. Her younger brother's health was getting worse. The hospital bills were mounting, and her small salary could barely cover the essentials. Each time she saw her brother's pale face or heard his weak voice, she felt a pang of helplessness. She was doing everything she could, working extra hours, skipping meals sometimes, but it was never enough. The stress was wearing her down. One rainy evening, after finishing a long and tiring flight, Sophia arrived home to find an unexpected visitor waiting for her at the door. Standing there was Nathan Cole, the Billionaire CEO whose name was known around the world, but who now seemed more human and real than anyone she had ever met. Sophia's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure whether to be happy, surprised, or suspicious. What was he doing here? Hadn't they only shared one night? Was this some kind of mistake? Nathan looked at her with a soft, kind expression. His usual confident and powerful demeanor was replaced by something more gentle. He said he couldn't stop thinking about her, and the stories she had shared about her life, her family, and the struggles she faced every day. He told Sophia that he wanted to help, not with empty promises or charity, but with something real and meaningful. Over the past 2 weeks, Nathan had been thinking about what he could do to make a difference, inspired by her strength and courage. He had decided to start a foundation, a project dedicated to helping families like Sophia's, people who were struggling to afford basic medical care. Sophia listened carefully, feeling a mix of emotions. She was grateful, but also unsure. She had been let down before by people who said they wanted to help, but only wanted something in return. She asked Nathan why he was doing this. Why did he care so much? Nathan was honest. He said that meeting, Sophia had changed the way he saw the world. He realized that money and success were not the most important things. What mattered was making a real difference in people's lives. He wanted to use his wealth and influence to help others, not just for fame or recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. Sophia felt tears prick at her eyes. She wanted to believe him, but trust did not come easily. Still, something in his words felt genuine. She saw the honesty in his eyes. After a long conversation, she agreed to accept his help, at least for her brother's surgery. Nathan promised to cover all medical costs and offered to support her family during this difficult time. The relief that washed over Sophia was indescribable. For the first time in months, she felt hope. Nathan arranged everything. The next day, Sophia's brother was admitted to the hospital for the surgery, and Nathan made sure the best doctors were involved. Sophia stayed by her brother's side, holding his hand, praying for his recovery. She was amazed at how much difference this help made, not just financially, but emotionally. While her brother was recovering, Sophia and Nathan stayed in contact. What had begun as a one-night connection was growing into something more meaningful. They spoke often about the foundation, about their hopes and fears, and about how they could work together to help more people. Sophia decided to leave her job as a flight attendant. The exhausting travel and long hours had taken a toll on her health and happiness. Instead, she wanted to dedicate herself to the foundation, to help others who were suffering like her brother had. Nathan welcomed her decision warmly. He knew she had a special gift: her compassion, her resilience, her ability to connect with people. Together they worked tirelessly to build the foundation. They traveled to small towns and cities where medical care was hard to find, bringing doctors, medicines, and hope to those in need. Sophia's experiences as a flight attendant helped her understand the challenges ordinary people faced, and Nathan's resources made it possible to provide lasting support. Their partnership went beyond business. Nathan found in Sophia a true friend and partner who challenged him to be better, who reminded him of life's simple joys. Sophia found in Nathan a supporter and companion who believed in her dreams and helped make them real. Their relationship was not easy. They came from very different worlds. Nathan was used to luxury, big meetings, and constant pressure. Sophia was used to hard work, sacrifice, and small victories. But they learned from each other. Nathan learned patience and humility. Sophia learned to trust and dream bigger. Slowly, their bond grew deeper. It wasn't a whirlwind romance filled with grand gestures. Instead, it was built on respect, understanding, and shared purpose. They celebrated small moments: the first successful surgery funded by the foundation, a thankful letter from a family they helped, a quiet evening spent planning their next project. Nathan and Sophia also faced challenges. Some people in Nathan's world doubted Sophia's place in his life. There were whispers and judgments from those who thought a billionaire should not be involved with a flight attendant. Sophia faced her own doubts, wondering if she truly belonged in the world Nathan moved in. But together, they stood strong. They proved that love and respect could cross any boundaries. They showed that kindness and courage mattered more than money or status. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset from a small rooftop overlooking the city, Nathan took Sophia's hand and told her how much she had changed his life. He said that meeting her was the best thing that had ever happened to him. Sophia smiled, feeling the warmth of his words. She knew their journey was just beginning, but she also knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. Their story was no longer about a billionaire CEO and a flight attendant meeting by chance. It was about two people who found in each other the power to change lives, including their own. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, they both felt a quiet certainty that the life-changing night they shared was only the start of a new and beautiful chapter.